More news I want to get you across tonight. To do that, let's bring in my panel, LNP MP Keith Pitt and Senior Fellow at the Menzies Research Centre, columnist of course for The Australian, Nick Cater. Nick, the Victorian Liberals, I opened the show with them tonight. They supported on Thursday night, certainly through the lower house, it's passed now, an increase in Victoria's renewables target to 95% by 2035. I mean, what did they miss about almost 700,000 Victorians losing their power 10 or so days ago? It's caused a real rift inside Shadow Cabinet. I've spoken to a number of Shadow Cabinet ministers. I certainly know the Liberal base is angry. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, are you surprised by this?
I'm extremely surprised, Peter. I mean, governments under our system, our wonderful system, have to, one, obey the law of the land. That's the Magna Carta in action. But secondly, they've got to obey the laws of physics. They can't break the laws of physics just because they want to, and that's exactly what they've done here. They cannot possibly achieve this target this way with renewables alone. I know no expert, no serious credible expert who believes they can. There is no country in the world that has got anything close to 95% renewables with just renewables. There are 9 countries that have cheaper electricity than us. 6 of them have nuclear power, and all of those 6 are closing in on close to 95% or 90% renewables. That's the only way you can do it in the end. You need baseload power, and of course, if you're worried about the carbon, you need clean energy baseload power. There's one source of that, and that's nuclear. So unless this opposition is also prepared to go to the next election with a policy that says we are going to lift the moratorium and encourage nuclear investment, then they are not a serious opposition.
Well, they're unelectable, and I don't suspect he'll be the leader by the end of the year. But I mean, this is the damage that's constantly done by these Lino Liberals around the country. Keith, help me understand, why are the households of this country paying an extra $1,000 more for their power, the same amount of power than big business? Why this gap?
Well, why are big retailers charging what they can and making more profit from residences? Well, because they can. When you're looking at the big market, so big consumers, that's a very competitive tender. They've got to price in because they consume so much. It might need some specialist equipment in terms of connection and connectivity and everything else. And they bid into that market in competition with others. In the retail sector, there are so many customers. They'll set a price. In fact, in Queensland, it's regulated just to make sure the Queensland Labor government gets their share and keeps filling their coffers. But for the poor old retailer, they're always the ones that miss out. My best advice is shop around, look for a better deal where you can. But there's lots of places, particularly in Queensland, there is no competition. There is just one provider, and I think that's a great shame.
Nick, what's this tax that's coming for our recyclables now? We're told industry is saying it's on the back of government regulations. They say those government regulations on waste amount to recycling tax. Surely that's the last thing we need now.
It does seem rather counter to the narrative, doesn't it, Peter? I've been concerned for a long time about the economics of recycling. It's extremely opaque. We don't know how much is actually recycled and how much is just thrown away. We don't know what it costs us, really, because all that's hidden in various ways. I'd like more openness about it, but I think we do think that recycling is a good thing. Everybody thinks that. I mean, it's good to reuse things where we can, and you can certainly reuse cardboard as Visy do with almost all of the waste paper we recycle. And I just think that I know this government likes to tax things because whenever it can, wherever it can, but please draw a stop at this one.
Keith, last week we found out that Tony Burke, he's the Federal Minister for Jobs, about 70% of his own department work from home. Now, I can't fathom how you make work from home as a federal public servant, but there you go. Well, down in Victoria, the head, so the Secretary of Victoria's Department of Jobs, he is reported to be working from home 3 days a week. The salary is well over $600,000 a year. There's manifest complaints from his department that things are in a logjam, things aren't being done. How on earth does that happen? Now, of course, we find out too in the business pages the value of property, so office property in the CBDs, particularly of Melbourne, well, that's plummeting because people aren't getting back to work.
Well, Peter, I'm in Canberra right now for the sittings. What am I doing here? We could all be our electorates and not come back ever.
Work from home.
Save the taxpayer a fortune. Work from home. Well, I'll tell you why we're not working from home, because this is where the job is and this is where people send us to fight for them. And 600K and 3 days at home a week, sign me up. What a great deal for some individuals. But whatever happened to productivity and the need to actually associate with your work colleagues, to be able to make joint decisions, to get good outcomes, to get outcomes for your business? And what about those individuals who are out there? You can't wire a new house from home. You can't install the plumbing. You can't do a repair on the dishwasher. It is a very limited amount that can work from home, and yet we are still spending hundreds of millions, if not billions, on new leases for the public service at a federal level, and I would assume at a state level. Well, it's got to stop. And what's next, Peter? There'll be claims for all sorts of things. You know, new chairs, tripping over, air conditioning. You'll have to have workplace inspections at home. Well, I think they already happen.
Oh, God help us. Nick, help me understand this. Report today that moderate Liberals in New South Wales are trying to court Allegra Spender, this is the Teal in the seat of Wentworth, to join the Liberal party room. Now, yes, you want every extra seat you possibly can, but you tempt her in the party room. She's not one of the Libs. She's not one of ours. You put her in the party room, I don't imagine she'll leak, but she'd certainly be a thorn in the side in terms of the policy direction, surely.
Look, I think it doesn't seem to me to be a positive move. I mean, I welcome everybody to join the Liberal Party, naturally, but I think they're better off going in with a candidate with some strong policies that can really argue against Alexa Spender, because what she's doing is just bad for the country. I mean, the things she supports are very often bad for the country, certainly bad for working people. But the problem, Peter, is this, and I think this came out in the Voice referendum, that, you know, there were 9 coalition seats that we held in before the last election that voted, yes to the referendum. We lost 8 of them. So 8 of the seats that we lost all voted yes. Now, I think that says something more broadly about the kind of people there, the way where their priorities are and what they focus on. And so we've really got to seriously look at how we can align their interests, such as they are, with those of the rest of the country, which is the vast majority of the rest of the country, as we saw with the Voice referendum.
Or the Liberal Party shouldn't turn itself teal to try and get them back. It should go and get some Labor seats out there in the real world, which would be my advice. Hey, Keith, Woolies is that trying to unwoke itself. No longer will they wear the badges that have got the little, pride flag on them or the Indigenous sticker. They just want their workers to turn up wearing the white uniform, putting the stuff on the shelves and serving customers and deriving some value for shareholders. About time.
Huzzah, Peter. Finally. I've got to tell you, mate, when I'm shopping and I'm looking at someone's name tag, it's because I want to know their name. I'm not worried about their cultural connection or what their sexuality might be. I'd hope that they're not going to put the ice cream on top of the grapes. And if I'm looking for pies and I can't find them, they know where they are. And I just want them to know their job and be able to say hello and be polite to them. So this is a good move by Woolworths. I think it's the right decision. And finally, we're seeing some sense.
Spot on. I couldn't care who you sleep with on your name badge. I just don't want you to be asleep at the till or asleep at work. That's all I care about. I might even go back to Woolies now, but we will see. We will see. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. See you both next week.